Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. You're with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and today I have someone who is literally a pocket rocket. She's a powerlifter. Her name is Bianca Daniel. Welcome to Big Little Small Talk, Bianca.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
I made a faux pas just now. I nearly said powerlifting. What's the difference between powerlifting and weightlifting?
So weightlifting is what you see in the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games. So they've got two disciplines, the snatch and the clean and jerk. Powerlifting actually has three disciplines, and they are squat, bench press and deadlift.
Well, that's just about taken away all my questions, because another question I wanted to ask you was clean and press, snatch, clean and jerk. So they are terms for the Olympic weightlifting.
Correct, yes.
And for powerlifting, we have the back squat, deadlift and bench. Am I correct?
Perfect.
Okay.
Nailed it.
I did nail it because I wanted to ask you exactly what this statement means. She then equalled her bench, in brackets, 92.5 kilograms, and deadlift, 200 kilogram records to set a world record total of 497.5 kilograms. What does that mean, that sentence?
Yes, so earlier on in the year, I was able to break all four world records. So that's the squat, bench press and deadlift, and then the total of all of those added together. So then later on that year, I held the records, and I was able to break the world records. And then I was able to break two of my own world records, which then gave me, it gave me equal my world records, which then gave me another total world record. It's very complicated, but math and So what does I think I know what a bench is. You're lying down, lifting up. Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
yep.
That's the bench.
Yep.
What about a deadlift? What's that mean?
Deadlift is the barbell from the floor to a straight lockout. So all the joints are in line. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders. Standing up nice and straight with the bar in your hand.
All 200 kilograms.
200 kilos, yes.
That is unbelievable. And you are... How tall are you, Bianca?
I am just over 5 foot. Not by much, but just.
And you weigh?
At the time, I weighed 60 kilos. So under 60 kilo weight class, yep.
Right. And what's the category that you're competing in? Are you lightweight, heavyweights, nothing like that?
No.
It's just it's women's powerlifting.
Yeah, so open women's powerlifting. I think the weight classes start from about under 48 kilos, and they move up in 7 kilo increments, if I'm correct.
So that's your weight, is it?
Yes. Yeah. So your body weight. So if you're in the under 60 kilo weight class, you need to be under 60 and over the next weight class down. So in between those weight brackets. Yep.
Wow. And how does a girl from Toowoomba become the world champion powerlifter?
That's a really good question, because it's one I ask myself, how did I even get here? But I think there's a lot of factors that have played into this, and it all stems back from when I was sprinting. So I started sprinting when I was 10 years old. I started Little Athletics here in Toowoomba Central Little Athletics at O'Quinn Street, and I think they still do it there, which is fantastic. And my mother got me a coach, Neil McCoy. Shout out to Neil, he's great. He used to be an Olympic weightlifter himself, and he said to me while we were sprinting, he said, "Bianca, one day you'd make a really good weightlifter, Olympic weightlifter." And I thought, that might be something I could pursue after sprinting. So I went on to do Olympic weightlifting. My coach, Greg Hobel, we started up at Mount Lofty School Gym, actually, at the top there. It seemed very unstable, dropping weights in the 2-story building up there. But anyway, it was all safe and no one got hurt, so that was good. And then I sort of finished Olympic weightlifting. It was kind of the stage of my life where I was sort of growing into adulthood. I had different goals. I wanted to buy a house, and, I worked a lot. So gym and training took a back seat for quite a number of years.
When you say you were, sorry to interrupt you
Yeah,
there,
no.
but when you say that you were Olympic weightlifting, did you compete at an Olympic level?
No, I the highest I went as a junior was the Commonwealth Youth Games over in India, in Pune, which is an incredible experience as a 15-year-old, to see how they lived over there and see all those things. You know, as a 15-year-old, it was very eye-opening, and I appreciated everything we had back home here. So no, I wasn't able to move into the Olympics. I moved out of Olympic weightlifting when I was quite young. So I think I stopped that when I was about 17 or 18, and that's when I started to pursue the goal of, you know, saving for a house and you know, setting myself up for the future, I guess. So that took a big backseat. But as a junior, I feel that I was quite successful and made a name for myself there. So it was good.
So we're saving for the house. What sort of work are we doing?
I started in disability care, actually. So I did disability care for 8 years, which I absolutely loved. I loved helping people. And saved up enough for a deposit, which was fantastic. It was a lot of sacrifice. I think looking back on it now, you can sort of see where I get it from, and it sort of shifted into my sporting career from my working life, I guess. I was working lots of weekends as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, seemingly missing out on all those nights out on the town with my friends. But looking back on it now, it's something I never regret,
And
seeing
all
where
this
I've come
time
from.
while you were doing that, what sort of sport was happening in your life at that time?
Not a great deal. I got back into just regular gym, so I wasn't competing or anything like that. I just wanted to get fit and healthy again, because obviously I've always had a love for sport and all things sort of health and fitness. So I went to the gym for a little while, and then I kind of got the itch back, I guess you could say, an itch for competition. I didn't want to do the same thing. I wanted to do something different, but I knew that my strengths lied in strength sport. So I sourced out powerlifting coach Chris Wells from Strength Precinct. He's my current coach now. Just sort of started to dabble in powerlifting. And it was a bit of fun to start with. And then I had a couple of competitions under my belt, and I thought, I could probably make something of this, if I really knuckle down. So I got dietitian, massage therapist, whole team on board basically. And then, it went from there, and now I'm a world champion and a world record holder, and
So how long ago was that you started seriously thinking about it?
I want to say probably 2 years ago. Yeah, so I joined just before COVID happened. I think I got a competition or two under my belt before COVID hit fully, and then obviously a lot of the gyms shut down. No one was doing anything. So I was just quietly training. I ended up acquiring some equipment that I was able to use in my own little single car garage. So I trained in there. I thought COVID can take my work away, they can take this, that and the other away, but they're not going to take my strength. And I actually feel that I became the strongest version of myself physically and mentally in that space than I ever thought possible. So that was really cool to see. And then it was kind of like when COVID ended and all the competitions started back up again, I was ready to go. Like, I was ready to hit the platform hard. And everyone was sort of like, where did this girl come from? Because no one had heard of me. No one knew who I was. I just came out on all cylinders firing basically. And started to make a name for myself. And that's when I really thought, you know what, I could really do something cool here. So
that sort of first competition that you went to after COVID, did you blitz it fairly easily and surprise yourself, or did you know what you were really up against, what sort of weights you were up against of the competitors?
I took the approach of, just focusing on myself. And when I focus on myself, the results tend to follow. So I try not to look too much into what the other competitors are doing or what I need to do to potentially win. I just wanted to be a better version of myself when I stepped back on the platform to the previous competition. So, I was my biggest competition, and each competition I went into, I just wanted to be better than what I was before.
But how did you know if you were even in the league, though?
So the rankings came out, and I started looking at Australian rankings, and then I started to look at world rankings, and yeah, then I thought, hang on a minute, I could really, do something here. So yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but it was a lot of fun.
Let's go back to when you said that you got a coach and you got a dietitian and you got these people to surround you and help you. Do you mind me asking, do you have to pay these people, or will they do it for the love of it?
Yeah, so initially, yeah. And eventually, as I started sort of making a name for myself, and winning more competitions, getting more records, my coach decided to sponsor me. So I was able to not have to pay for my coaching anymore. And I think his exact words were, he said something along the lines of, don't worry about paying me, just keep winning.
Wow, that's the kind of coach you want.
So that was really helpful. And then, I get probably a discounted rate, I guess, for certain things, with my dietitian and my massage therapist. So yeah, it's helped out a lot.
I want to talk about your diet in a minute, but were there a lot of knockers or naysayers saying, what are you doing that for? That's a stupid thing to do. Or did you have that experience at all?
Nothing comes to mind. My family is obviously very supportive, and my friends and those likes of those people around me. But I can't say that I had anyone sort of questioning why I was doing it. I'm not sure whether it's because they know how hard-headed I am, and it's pointless telling me that because it's probably just going to egg me on even more. But yeah, I can't say that I had anyone.
I just can't imagine how expensive it would be, going for all the competitions and paying for all that support staff. And so were you able then to get some sponsorship? Is that how it works? Or
Yeah, so 2022, the comp calendar came out and it was shaping up to be a very big year. I looked at all the expenses. I had a trip to Melbourne, accommodation, obviously competition fees. Three of the 4 competitions were within Queensland, which was a little bit easier. But yeah, I had everything down on paper, and I'm just thinking, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, this is going to be an expensive year. And I needed to do something about that. I needed to ask for help, which is something I hadn't done previously. And I love that you bring this up because it was probably one of the hardest things in my sporting career that I've ever had to do, was ask for help, and financial help at that. And something that, not all people are aware of, powerlifting, not all people are aware of who I am or what I do. I had to approach these business owners, explain who I was, what I did, and ask for money. And it was hard. It was very difficult.
How did you decide who you were going to ask?
So first off, I started with, business, local businesses that I support. So my pest man, so CDI Pest Management in Toowoomba here. Obviously,
your pest man. That's
unusual. I
thought you were going to say the some sort of food company or the gym, or I just didn't think you were going to say the pest man.
I know it was odd. At the start I was like, okay, maybe I will have a better chance if I ask businesses that I support myself. Then they're more likely to, hand over some money. So I thought, what a better place to start from there. At least I know these people. I'm not just sort of going in blindly saying, hey, I've never stepped foot inside your business. Can I have your money?
Was there a fundraising goal that you had in mind?
Yeah, there was actually. So obviously the first and foremost was to get myself to all these competitions. Secondly was to be able to fund my coach to get there as well. So that was the kind of goal, was to get myself firstly and then my coach there secondly. We all banded together with the sponsorship money. My coach's parents actually organised a trivia night at Volcanic Brewing in Toowoomba that they kindly put up their premises for, which was amazing. So with that, and all the fundraising we did raffles as well. So World Gym come in on it, Nutrition Warehouse gave prizes, I gave prizes for my personal training. My massage therapist gave vouchers for her therapy. So we had raffles going, we had trivia nights, and we ended up being able to get me, myself, my husband, which, you know, to have my support crew there is also important. So me and myself, hey, it's two of us, just me, my coach, my husband, my mum and my massage therapist, all to Melbourne with accommodation, and pay for the rest of my competition fees and everything that goes along with that, travel, accommodation. So it was amazing and very overwhelming to see.
That ability then to raise money for you say that was one of the hardest things that you've had to do. Did it in some way translate into how you performed your sport? Like you wanted to then, you had all these other people that sort of had contributed to it and you felt like there was more riding on it than just you winning a medal? Or
100%, you know, like I wanted to do all these people who had helped me out proud. So, you know, it wasn't just me, it wasn't just my coach, it was all these people that were, you know, rooting for me, which for me helps a lot when you're standing in, you know, you're stepping onto the platform, you know that all these people are watching and, you know, waiting for the results to come through. So yeah, it helped in more ways than just financially. So I do feel like the support outside of, you know, just my family and friends there is incredible. I don't know how to explain it really.
Yeah. I'll just remind the listeners that they're on 4DDB and you're with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and we're on Big Little Small Talk, and we're talking to powerlifter, world record powerlifter in fact, Bianca Daniel, who's a 30-year-old Toowoomba girl, grew up in Toowoomba.
I did.
So Bianca, we started to talk before about your diet. What does your diet for a powerlifter look like?
Oh goodness, so it's actually not as, I don't want to say bad as what people would think. I train between 2 to 3 hours each session and 3 to 4 sessions a week. So I need to be able to fuel that. So my fuel load, it needs to be something that's sustainable as well. So things that I actually enjoy. But there is a fair bit of carbs involved with that. That's the main fuel source of my training. So lots of stir fries, voluminous food, so like lots of veggies, salad. One of my favourites at the moment is beef stir fry.
Not eating whole loaves of bread at a time or anything like that, no?
Not at all. And I even get a handful of lollies to help me sustain my training sessions because they go for so long. And my dietitian, she placed a rule when we first met that I am to include dessert every single night, which was the best rule ever. So yeah, you know, I still, it was I guess it was strict, like it was more strict in a way of not your everyday kind of diet, but I was still able to have my dessert, have my cake and eat it too, I guess. So
what about eating junk food? Is that allowed? Like, you know, hot chips and sort of those sorts of things?
When I was competing in the under 60 kilo weight class, I'll give you a little bit of context with this. So where my weight naturally sits is very close to 60 kilos. So I did have to sort of minimize the junk food that I ate, just to help me stay within my weight class. So it's not something I took out completely, but it was something that I definitely had in moderation.
Talk to me about the relationships or the women in powerlifting. Like, I notice you've got your nails done there, and is there much sort of, because immediately when I heard powerlifting, I was thinking about the body sculpting.
Yes,
obviously that's incorrect. What is that called, that body sculpting?
Bodybuilding.
Bodybuilding. Yep. Okay, so we're getting all these terms all boxed up. So is there pressure for the glamour for the women in powerlifting?
There's certainly an aspect of glamour involved if you want it to be. So for me, I only had my nails done for the sports awards on the weekend. Otherwise I don't bother. But I do like to get my hair braided before competition, and I also like to add some colour. It's usually red, which is my colour, my favourite colour. And I think I got green and gold for World Championships for Australia. So, I like to get my hair done, and I like to get a tan, because when they take photos of you on the platform, I'm very white normally, very, pasty. So I like to have a bit of colour to me. So I like to get my tans done. And that's just for something that I like to do. It's like a pre-comp ritual for me. But, other girls go all out. They'll put full face of makeup on. Most people wear braids just because it keeps it out of our way when we're lifting, and looks, pardon, but badass. Most girls wear their braids, but I guess probably is a bit of a glamour aspect to it, but probably not in the way, definitely nowhere near as glamorous as physique building, bodybuilding, because obviously they're being judged on everything to do with their looks, so that's more important. But I think I get to overindulge a little bit in my beauty routines before comps.
What do you wear?
So I wear a what they call a soft suit. So it's I guess it's kind of like a leotard. So it's short legged and a singlet. So it's just a one piece. If we're doing squats or bench press, we have to wear a t-shirt underneath, just because the bar touches our chest, back. And in deadlifts, we need to wear knee-high socks because the bar comes up our shins. So, there's rules that we have to abide by with what we can wear. But generally speaking, it's just a one-piece soft suit.
And what's the relationships like between you all? Is it quite collegiate, or is it a little bit competition? You're not giving away anything or not very, very friendly, or?
It is amazing. I was not expecting the camaraderie that came with it when I started powerlifting. Everyone's so supportive of anyone. It doesn't matter if you're competing against each other or not. Everyone's in the back, warm-up area, just, talking and there's... I rarely saw any form of like competitiveness and just people sort of keeping to themselves. Like you've got, your more quiet competitors that sort of sit there with their headphones in and don't give much away. They don't necessarily talk to people, but before the competition and definitely after the competition, everyone's just in there, just having a good time. Everyone's sort of, just bouncing off each other because got so much in common, obviously. So it's really fun to see, actually, and it was very surprising the camaraderie that I see, that I have seen with powerlifting.
Yeah. Who's your main competition?
Myself.
Oh well, yes, that. But who's the person who is sort of coming up behind you?
It's funny you ask that, because I don't bother looking. I don't know. It's something that I don't really care about. Once upon a time, I used to always look to see who I was going to be competing against, whether that was in athletics, Olympic weightlifting, and I found that it served me nothing. And I was comparing myself against others, and when I compared myself against myself, that's when the results came. So I trained myself to just kind of block all that out and then just focus on myself. So I don't really have an answer for that. It's me, myself, and I.
That's good. You got a couple of competitors. What does it mean to lift equipped or unequipped?
Yes, so equipped lifting is where they have special squat suits, which is they're very tight. So when there's anything like compressing against the body, it tends to, it helps the body to, how can I say, like lift things. How can I give an example?
Is it like a girdle or something around your waist,
or
is it a whole like a wetsuit?
It's not like a long sleeved or long legged, but it is. I think the bench suits are like, it comes down to just so not just past your elbow, just before your elbow. And it's just a very tight suit, so it's hard on a podcast. I'm sitting here like doing these movements and no one can see me. So this is a very challenging question for me to try and explain
so it's a
people. It's a piece of clothing that helps the lift be performed that little bit easier. And I hope no equipped lifters are listening to this and going, what are you talking about, Bianca? But yeah, basically it equips the lifter to be able to lift more. So equipped lifters tend to be able to lift more. Unequipped lifters, not so much. Yeah.
So you're an unequipped lifter, and there's a whole other category of powerlifting for equipped lifters.
There is, yeah. And I've never actually witnessed a competition of equipped lifting. So I really hope my definition with that was okay.
All right. Well, feel free to get in touch with us, all those equipped lifters that are listening out there on 40dB, 102.7 FM Community Radio. We're on Big Little Small Talk, and we're talking to Bianca Daniel, our 30-year-old powerlifter. What does this mean? IPL Drug-Tested World Championships. Is that a different competition? The Drug-Tested World Championships as opposed to the not drug-tested? Or what does it mean?
Yeah. So in the International Powerlifting League, which is what IPL stands for, they run tested competitions and untested competitions. So in the world of powerlifting, and most people find this quite controversial, but powerlifters are just like, whatever. Powerlifters are actually quite open about drug use, so steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, and you know, they've made competitions for them. So they've segregated, you know, if you want to do that kind of thing, here's the competition for you. If you don't want to do that kind of thing, we're, you know, fully on board, and we run drug testing in competitions. So that's the one I lift in, is the drug-tested competitions, yes.
So, I mean, I'm looking at the size of your biceps and your thighs. I'm thinking, if I'm in the drug, go for your life, you know, go for it.
Yep.
How big are those people?
Yeah, it's crazy actually. They're very defined. So their muscles are very defined and wonderful to look at. So yeah, I guess it was funny because my mother, when I went to Melbourne in 2022 last year, that was actually an untested competition. So I was a tested lifter, but they weren't running drug tests at that competition. So I was actually competing against untested lifters. So my mum is just sitting there, and she's got no poker face, right? So she's just like looking at these people in just like, I don't even know, like she's just in awe, or like, how can a human body look like that? So yeah, it can be, yeah, quite an eye-opening experience.
Is there a bit of rivalry between the drug-tested and the, you know, do you sort of feel like they're cheating a little bit and there's a little bit of aspersions cast on one another, and they're sort of looking at you saying, well, why wouldn't you? What's wrong with you, girl?
No, I don't think so, which is quite surprising. And it's something coming from like a sport, you know, like athletics and sprinting and Olympic weightlifting, where all of that is like 100% frowned upon, like absolutely no, to powerlifting, where it's just like, yeah, this is what I do and I'm open about it, and I'm going to go compete over here and you can compete over there, and if you want to compete with us, you can. Like, yeah, it's something that I had to get used to that.
How'd you go against the dirty drug cheats?
I surprised myself. So I actually gave them a really good run for their money. So in Melbourne 2022 at Pro Raw, which is a competition, that's what it was called, I came second, which I thought was a fantastic effort. That was probably the best result I had in 2022. And it just egged me on. Without sounding controversial, I like going up against people who choose to do that. And I don't have any, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's totally okay. But it was something that definitely egged me on, knowing that I was a natural lifter and I was putting it to to them. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it, just quietly.
So just on the sort of the idea of people casting aspersions on other people, I said, have you had any naysayers? Does anyone sort of say anything about your being this much of an athlete, it's going to affect your ability to have children, or like you say things that just are not their business?
Once again, I can't say I've ever come across that. I've been the type of person to just, head down, bum up, and just do me. So, and even throughout my personal life, like I rarely bring drama. So, and I just think it's because I'm so focused on what I want to do that even if they are saying those kinds of things, I don't even hear it. I just keep doing me. So, yeah, I can't say that there's ever an instance that I can think of that is cropped up like that.
Giving their opinion about the way that your body is, or
There's certainly been some comments made, not necessarily to me, but it might have been on social media or something like that. She has to be on drugs to be able to do what she does, and I thrive off it. I love it because I know the truth, and the people who matter know the truth. So, if you want to think that, then go right ahead, because I know what I'm about. So,
you mentioned your husband before. Tell me about him and how you met, and how he feels about the powerlifting. Obviously, he's very supportive.
Definitely, yeah. So his name's William, and we met in 2014 online, actually, on a dating app. And he cringes every time I tell someone this, but it's the norm these days anyway. Not so much, 9-10 years ago, but so yeah, we're pretty much an online dating app success story. So we got married 3 years ago in Mullaney, Sunshine Coast, beautiful part of the world. Absolutely love it there. And yeah, I want to say that he actually spurred me on to rejoin the gym again. So when we met, he was an avid gym goer and still is, and me not so much. I think I mentioned earlier that I was working a lot and gym kind of took a back seat. So to see him getting up to the gym, at 5 a.m. every morning, I thought, you know what, I should probably go and do something similar. So I want to say that this, the whole reason why I'm back in the gym was probably because of him. So he is definitely very supportive, and he gets questioned a lot, how does it feel to have your wife lift more than you? And he just shrugs it off. He trains with me in the gym, and he's very open about it. He doesn't try to hide the fact that I can lift more than him. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and celebrates your success, hopefully.
Definitely.
Does he ever just sometimes at a party say, look how strong she is, she can lift me up, and sort of, lie in the shape of a barbell?
That's hilarious, because he is the most introverted person you'll ever meet. So he's a quiet achiever. He doesn't necessarily, shout the rooftops like, my wife's so strong and, she's world champion. He doesn't do that. But the other day we were at a competition and he was filming me, and me knowing how quiet he is and how, reserved he is, I watched the video back, and all I could hear in this video was him screaming at the top of his lungs for me to lift this deadlift that I was going for. And to me that was so special, because he doesn't like drawing attention to himself. So for him to be screaming in a crowd, was just, so special. So no, he doesn't, go out in public and tell people all about my achievements. He kind of just lets me do that for myself. But he definitely shows his support in other ways that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. Now, I know probably this is a frivolous question, but I was out at the wrestling 2 weekends ago out at the showgrounds, not the showgrounds, the racetrack, which I absolutely love the wrestling. And I know that that's all theatrics, but you don't have a powerlifting name, do you?
I wouldn't say it's a powerlifting name. It's just a nickname, I guess, and everyone calls me B. So Bianca B. And it's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So
do you come out to some sort of music or something like that?
I wish I did.
Can you?
No.
Let's instigate it.
Sometimes, depending on how like big the competition is. Like if it's a small competition, then I can request my own little song to come out to, which is always fun because it's not what people expect.
What is it? What's the song?
It'll be anything from like Dolly Parton 9 to 5 or something. Like it is so odd. People are like, you really lift to that? I'm like, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Like, you know, I think it's Matthew Wilder, break your stride. Ain't nothing gonna break your stride. Yeah. I just love stuff like that. That's just, you know, up and jazzy and just makes me smile.
Yeah, great. Well, I don't think there's anything you can't do with Dolly Parton on in the background.
I don't think so
I'm a big
either.
Dolly Parton fan. Okay, I'm looking at my clock. I'm running out of time as per usual. So some of my questions for you, Bianca, are, in 3 words, I am...
strong, determined and stubborn.
I think that's fairly accurate. Strong and stubborn and determined.
Definitely.
Yeah. Question number 2. If I'm frightened of anything, it's...
not being able to control a situation.
Tell me some more about that, because so far from listening to you, I would have thought it's very the kumbaya, go with the flow.
I've been learning. It's been a journey. So, you know, with my lifting and stuff like that, like everything, I try to take out all the variables because consistency is key, and you probably hear it all the time in, you know, any facet of life, I guess, consistency is key. So for me to be consistent, I take all the variables out. So I train at the same day, I eat the same food, I used to. So this is me sort of learning, moving out of that whole rigid routine, I guess.
Is that superstition, or is
that...
Oh,
100%, I think. Yep, for sure. And my dietitian, if she listens to this, she's going to laugh because it's something we've been working on. I'll eat the same food pre-competition. I'll eat the same food pre-training because I know that works.
Not because of superstition, though. A little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely superstition.
I suppose the reason I asked that, I was listening to a cricketer being interviewed the other day, and he said the same thing. I do the same. I would catch the same bus. I wear the same pair of undies. I have the same pair of socks on because it's all about the sort of superstition. So yeah, all right. Number 3, if I could travel back in time or travel forwards in time, and that might be an interesting question for you. Is there something that what's coming up for you?
It's a bit of a grey area at the moment. There's been a few things that have cropped up in the past couple of weeks that have thrown a big spanner in the works. So I'm sort of just trolling through those and trying to work out what the future does hold for me. But potentially focusing a little bit more on family life now and making my own, you know, building our own little family. So who knows, a little powerlifter might be on the way now in the future. So we'll see.
There's something about you, Bianca, when you're speaking. There's something that reminds me of Ash Barty and her sort of modesty. And who do you admire as an athlete?
I love Ash. I think the fact that she was able to just step away from a sport that she obviously loved at the top of her game is incredible. And I'm just getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. You know, it wasn't for the money. She could have gone on. She could have made millions more. But that's not why she wanted to do it. She wanted to focus on other facets of her life. She was happy with what she had achieved. And, to be able to do that, I think as an athlete is so respectful. And Ash is definitely someone who I really admire for that. And when she did retire, I was like, I love you even more. Like it's very special. It's
a possibility for me. I used to work with a guy who used to say, in politics, it's not about being there, it's all about the dismount, as in knowing when to go. So maybe that's, it's interesting that you say that you admire Ash, because you definitely have got a touch of the Ashes about you, I'd say.
Oh, thank you so much. That's the best compliment I've had.
Well, this might answer my next question. My favourite person in the entire universe is?
Oh, I want to say my husband. Not because I think I have to, but because, he's, obviously a very special part of my life. And you've got to be a very strong supportive person to be with someone like myself who has put, their sporting career first in a lot of instances. So, yeah, my husband Will.
Yeah, good on you, Will. Can we just go back quickly? Do you come from a sporting family, like the combination of your parents' genes? Like you said, you were doing some sprinting, so your mother got a coach. That's next level sort of support, really. I was doing some sprinting when I was young too, but there was no coach coming my way.
It's a great question. My mum dabbled in swimming, so she came from Charleville out west, where I guess there weren't many opportunities for, for any sporting career, I guess. But no, like I don't come from a sporting family, really. They don't even watch sport. So it's the topic of conversation sometimes at dinner. I'm like, maybe you were adopted, I don't know, because we don't know where you get this discipline from, like the love for sport. So yeah, I don't know where I got it from, and neither do my parents.
Well, we got it, and that's all we need. What about the last time I looked in the mirror? I thought...
I often think about how incredible the human body is and how appreciative I am of it, and how not necessarily physically strong, but mentally strong. So yeah, I guess, the last time I looked in the mirror, I was very admirable. And I think the last couple of weeks too, when, you start to think about potentially retiring from something that's been such a big part of your life, you do start to reminisce and, think about everything your body has done for you over the past, for me, 20 years of my sporting career. So, yeah, a lot of admiration for the human body and what it can do. Yes,
that's right. When we sort of don't appreciate how much, particularly when you have a baby, how much can go wrong, but 99.9% of the time doesn't, but when it does, yeah, it's just incredible. One of my other questions that I wanted to ask you, but perhaps you've already answered, if you were to leave a part of your body to science, what would it be?
I think my brain, because the body will do whatever the mind tells it to. So yeah, it would be very interesting to see. Obviously, there's a massive connection between mind and body, of course. But yeah, it would be an interesting facet to kind of delve into, to see exactly how much, can be achieved with the mind on its own.
The right mindset. I love that answer. It's fantastic. Because sometimes people say the last time I looked in the mirror, I saw my grandmother looking back at me, but that's not you. What about if life has taught me one lesson? What is it?
It's to be patient and trust the process. It's not always easy to trust the process, but I think if you've got the right people in your corner, anything's possible. So, yeah, trust the process.
You might go on to be a life coach or a motivator or something with all of this good advice and all this
interesting.
Sage.
Yeah, that'd be something I'd be very interested in doing. Never ever thought of myself as a public speaker, but never did I think I'd be a world champion, world record holder either. So here we are.
Yes, the curly ones that come your way. All right, this is a question that I love, probably my most favourite. It shows how tragic I am. Who is your favourite royal person, Bianca?
So I actually don't really follow royals, but my husband loves the late Queen Elizabeth, like absolutely adores her. And I think that admiration has kind of rubbed off on me a little bit. So, yeah, Queen Elizabeth.
Tell me how a young Aussie guy living in Toowoomba loves Queen Elizabeth.
I often ask that question myself, and I can't get a straight answer. He just absolutely loves her. And
tell me about, in what way? What does he do why does he express his love for the late Queen Elizabeth?
I remember, okay, so my husband has trouble sleeping. He's a fly-in, fly-out worker, so he does a lot of night shifts. So when he comes home, he finds it hard to adjust. And it was early morning when Australia found out about Queen Elizabeth's passing. he was out on the couch. He was watching the early news. So that's when the news came. And I remember hearing like this sob, right? And I was half asleep and I kind of ignored it. And then I heard it again. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that's Will's out watching TV. Like, what's going on? And my first thought, because we are such big animal lovers, I thought that maybe there was a beached whale or something that had made the news. I don't know. That was my original thought. And it got the better of me, and I was like, Willie, babe, are you okay? Like, what's happened? And he said, the Queen's passed away. And it hit me hard. I was like, he really does love her. So I went out and I was consoling my husband at 4:30, I think it was in the morning, on the couch. So that's the kind of love he had for her. And I don't know where it's come from. I don't think he even knows where it comes from. But yes, so he took it very, very hard.
That is such a sweet story. Maybe he loves her because she's strong, determined and stubborn, perhaps.
Potentially, yes.
Might
she
be.
had a long reign, so maybe that's exactly what it is. I'm not sure, but we'll have to have another conversation and see if I can prise it out of him.
I'll have to catch up with Will myself. I like him more and more the more I hear about him. He's a lovely man. All right, my very last question, Bianca. Are you a dancing girl? You seem like the type of girl who'd love a dance.
I absolutely love a dance.
What's the song that can't keep you off the dance floor?
I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. You know that one? Yes.
Is that Whitney?
Whitney Houston.
It is Whitney.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, wonderful. She didn't.
I might have a singing career after this.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we've got a few things lined up for you. We've got life coach, singing,
There's plenty of options.
mother,
I think.
lots of things happening there. Well, Bianca, you've been a dream to interview. It's been a pleasure hearing about your career and how you got into powerlifting. And I think if there's anyone out there listening to this, young girls on the Downs who, are motivated by a stubborn streak and a determination and a belief in themselves, I hope that they hear it and I hope that you've inspired them today. So thank you for being my guest on Big Little Small Talk.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It was very much fun.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.